What's up, everyone?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 28. Right? 28?
Number 28.
Yay.
All right, roll that intro. What's
Anyway,
up, guys?
hello, everybody.
How y'all doing out there?
Hello to almost all of our 2K
I know.
subscribers. That's awesome. Wait, we'll save the claps for when we see that, too. Okay, no, I'm
Oh,
kidding.
yeah, I know.
I'm kidding.
But yeah,
That's still pretty
I just
awesome.
want to say thank you to all you guys who have subscribed, who comment, who like the content.
Who
and
gives us any of their attention at all?
Yeah.
I mean, that alone is a lot,
Yeah.
I feel like.
And if you're new here,
Welcome.
don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, put that notification bell on. Anyway, we hope y'all had a good weekend, whatever you guys are up to. Hey, let us know wherever you guys are from, what you guys usually do for like celebration of Halloween, because it's about to be spooky season.
I know Germany has the, what is it called?
I don't know.
I don't know, but I've seen there's movies about it.
Really?
Right?
I don't know.
What's it? It starts with like a K. Is it Krampus?
Oh, Krampus.
Krampus?
I don't know. United States made some movie based off of that, right? But then it's like some it's
maybe
supposed
it's
to be like a
just-
folk tale from some over there or something like that.
I think so, but I think they flipped it and they play into it or something and they.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm talking out of my butt. I really don't know much. It's little things I've heard here and there. Anyway, Taylor Swift's album just came out.
Yep. I stayed up listening to it with her.
I forced him to stay up till midnight to listen to it with me. And it was okay. I think it needs to grow on me a little bit more. That the bonus tracks definitely helped. And Brian was passed out by the time the bonus tracks came out because it was 3 hours later.
Yeah.
And then you were just face planting the bed, go away.
I know. I walked over to the room and I'm like, and she's like, "You're supposed to be listening to this."
Get out of here.
That's funny. This weekend was cool, right?
Yes, it was for me. I don't know what you did.
I know I didn't do anything.
I went to one of my brother's races. He ran a half marathon and got first place out of everyone. There was hundreds of people there. I did have to get up at 4 a.m. to go, but it was still fun. It was nice seeing family,
Yeah.
And then I went to a Halloween party that night, and I wore a Wednesday Addams costume. Never thought I would ever wear that costume, but it was kind of last minute. I was like, what can I just buy on Amazon for 5 seconds? Thanks, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Bezos.
Don't get that song stuck in my
Sorry.
head. Ew, you got a little booger on your eye. Like a little eye booger.
All
Is
right.
that satisfying? Taking it off.
All right. So, the video brought to you today by Loners.
And we carved pumpkins yesterday.
yeah.
And Brian's driving ruined my pumpkin.
Whatever. She should have placed it in the back better.
Listen, he's just jealous because out of all the pumpkins that were carved, mine won. Mine was the best.
I'll throw up a little image of the carvings.
Listen, the bar is low when I say that, okay?
But hers was really good. Not gonna lie.
Mine was okay, but you guys and your skills just made me look better. Let's just say that.
Or lack of skills.
And then I get home and we go to grab it from the car, and the whole part I carved just
It broke
ripped
off,
away.
yeah.
And now I just have a giant hole in the pumpkin, but it's okay because we got pigs. Anyway, back to what you were saying.
Yeah. So today we're gonna do a video called "How Finland Ended Homelessness."
Yes.
Interesting, because this is a big topic in the United States, but more specifically in LA. So.
Well, also, I know our governor just came out saying that California is what?
You're talking about the economy?
Yeah, he was saying that our
It's
economy
like the fourth
is the
biggest
most
economy now. I think it's
in the whole world though.
comparing to Germany. I think because they're the fourth.
I think we took their place as the fourth.
Oh, I don't. I'm not exactly sure.
I just feel like nothing's a flex when it comes to the economy when homeless people are in that
Situation, especially how bad it is here.
Yeah, there's so many homeless people out here. It's kind of scary. So
Yeah.
help your people first, and then see how the economy is after that.
True that. All right.
Our dog's dreaming.
Yeah, he makes noises when he's dreaming.
Okay, now officially entering the video. So you could put the little marker thing, I guess, from here.
All right. And it's called How Finland Ended Homelessness. Let's begin.
Who was the creator?
Oh, yeah, sorry. It's brought to you by Second Thought. I'm sure a lot of you guys have already heard of him, but we did another video from him. But yeah, here we go.
About 600,000 people experience homelessness in the U.S. Think about your own life. You might not be homeless or necessarily even know someone who is or has been. But you certainly know someone paying too much for rent, someone having trouble finding a place to live, someone facing eviction. In other words, someone who could become homeless without much needing to go wrong.
Yeah.
More and more Americans are joining this category every day. The truth is that in 95% of U.S. counties, those who work a full-time minimum wage job cannot afford even a one-bedroom apartment. Change that to a two.
Yeah, I've heard that stat before.
I feel like we've mentioned that also before.
Yeah.
The minimum wage across the board, you can't even I don't even know if you can.
No
live
one
in
can
studio.
afford a one-bedroom apartment. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he also said everyone knows someone or is in those situations. Like my mom right now, I don't think my mom will end up homeless anytime soon, especially not in our lifetime. I'm not gonna let my mom live in the street, but because she is single, lives alone. My stepdad's been in a coma for a decade now, so that's one thing right there. And then but she's very much one of those people who's always worried about how she's gonna pay rent the next month, and she has full-time job. She makes $30 an hour, living in California. I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a bit wild. And she lives in an apartment. She doesn't live in a
That's
house.
crazy. Yeah.
So, but I know everyone's situations are different. So grateful that she's able to still somehow sustain living out here. But yeah, she's
I feel
looking
like she wants to move. Yeah.
She's looking to move near my sister, who's in the desert and an hour away. And my mom hates the desert, so if she's looking there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Let's continue.
Bedroom and the entire country becomes unaffordable. This situation is only getting worse. As a result of the pandemic, rising housing costs, wage stagnation, and the inadequate policies of our local and federal governments, the number of people experiencing homelessness and of people on the brink has been steadily growing for the past decade. That is, if you only look at the US. In this episode, we're looking at Finland's approach to homelessness, what housing first is, and what it could mean for the American economy. In Finland, only about 5,000 people, 0.1% of the population, are homeless. And that's even with the broadest definition of what constitutes homelessness, which includes more than who you typically think of when you hear the term. The Finnish definition of homelessness goes beyond just those who are living on the street or in emergency accommodations like shelters. In some cities, like the country's capital Helsinki, no one sleeps on the street. That type of homelessness has been completely eliminated. Compare that to the US's nearly 600,000 homeless people, which is almost exclusively so-called rough sleepers, those who live on the street, and the problem starts to become apparent.
I do wonder though, what I wonder if he's gonna mention, because this is kind of an interesting comparison, because there's way more people.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
In United States than there is in Finland.
Do you want to check real quick on Google, how many people?
Well, I want to see if he mentions it.
Right.
Yeah, because he might do a stat.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's interesting. But I mean, that's still great that there's no one sleeping on the street and stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, okay, yeah, keep going. Sorry.
What's more important, though, is that homelessness isn't just low in Finland, it's actively going down. Between 2010 and 2018, Finland enjoyed a massive 40% decline in the homelessness rate. If it sounds like we're cherry-picking data, even during the pandemic, which, let me remind you, has caused a massive surge of homelessness in the US, homelessness in Finland did not increase. So what happened? How is Finland so effectively reducing homelessness? In 2007, the Finnish government started a national Housing First program. Housing First is a philosophy that argues that to make progress on homelessness, particularly chronic homelessness, you need more than temporary emergency solutions. You need permanent housing right out the gate. In other words, housing is the starting point, not the end point. The way Housing First programs work is pretty simple. People experiencing homelessness receive independent housing immediately, without having to first fulfill mental health, sobriety, income, employment, or other requirements. Once they're housed,
This is what I hear from the politics in LA
Okay.
right now, because there's a mayoral race right now. So they're all talking about homelessness. It's like the biggest issue everyone is like talking about.
That's always the selling point for politicians out here, but no one has really done
So
much.
this is what they're saying they should do. At least one of the candidates is saying this, that how like being put in the house should be the first thing.
Yeah.
Then you assess, but just to get the people off the street.
Mm-hmm.
And it does make sense, but it's just like, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not like
They
an
have
expert,
like
but
shelters where they will, don't quote me, I know this is just like what I've heard. Not all of them do this, but they will test you and they'll make sure like
yeah.
you're not abusing drugs or you're not doing X, Y, and Z to be there.
Yeah. Well, I
it's
mean,
like-
if you are on drugs, they should probably just find
It's
like,
like
help
find
you,
this,
but-
help this, the problem with this, like find a solution instead of being like, well, if you're going to be this, then you don't deserve this. But it's like, it's not that simple. I don't think people are actively choosing to be hooked on drugs. Like, it sucks that it gets to that point, but they need support and help in that regards versus being a lost cause, because
Well, yeah.
they're not waking up every day and just being like, you know what, I don't care about this. I don't care about my future. I don't care about that. I mean, I don't think they are. I don't think so. Because
They
if you really
probably
don't give
lost
a
sight
shit
of
about anything,
anything,
you'd
though.
probably just kill yourself. Like, you know. Sorry, what'd you say?
No, yeah, I don't know. I mean, but I'm sure like when
Some people
When
just
it-
need help.
yeah, but when I'm saying when you're in a society that makes you feel like you're not wanted, or just to continue to like
Like you're a problem.
yeah, then
Yeah.
you're going to continually put that in your own head that you are a problem.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
support services are offered, not imposed, and over time, the newly housed begin to finance part of the cost of their housing to the degree that they can afford it. It sounds pretty intuitive, but this is very different from the more common continuum of care or staircase approach we're mostly using. In continuum of care programs, homeless people are expected to make progress on any mental health or addiction issues they may have, and to pass a certain standard before being housed. In this system, housing is at the top of the staircase. These individual changes that these programs require are the sorts of things that are incredibly difficult to address when you are still contending with the anxiety of not having a home, possibly still sleeping on the street. In these continuum of care programs, only once you have demonstrated some change, which we should keep in mind is incredibly difficult to achieve without housing stability, do these programs graduate you into housing arrangements. First shared housing, and slowly over time independent housing. To some, continuum of care approaches sound great. That is, in theory. They map onto our society's values of meritocracy, of security. Only those who are deserving get access to the prize of having a home. Under this mentality, if you don't have a home, it must be because you're just not good enough yet. Come back later. It should be obvious that these programs just don't work. Not only do they strip people of their agency and come with an enormous moral burden, but recidivism is high, and a huge number of people don't make it into the program in the first place because of the high barrier to entry. Compare that to Housing First.
Yeah, we've passed by that spot a lot.
I don't know if you guys notice there. Do you want to right there? Can you click it?
Yeah.
This is like at the veterans
Veterans
hospital.
Is it like a park, isn't it?
It's weird. It's like there's like this whole little sector in Westwood that is like a hospital, and then there's like also a cemetery right by it for veterans.
Yeah.
And it just is so bizarre that you could drive by here and it's like they all have like these American flags on their
Tents. Yeah.
And it's like makes you wonder, like, did they put that there, or like is somebody, I don't know, that somebody
I don't
like
know.
tell them, like, I don't know. Basically it's implying that these are veterans, homeless. These are veterans just on a community homeless. And it's just ironic because there's a VA right by there. There's a cemetery, like they know where they're going to be buried, right? Once they're dead and stuff. I don't know. It's really weird that you could treat people like this, let alone people who have served our country.
Yeah, I know.
You're just kind of like,
I also don't.
well, grab a tent.
I
Like, it's
don't
weird.
think we're like. I think we have enough places that we could house the homeless. I think we have enough units or empty office spaces or just stuff that the government can like rent out or purchase for it.
We do. 100% we do.
And it makes so much sense when you see like the housing first type of thing. It's like, how does that not make sense? Like, why would you make everyone jump through loops to then get to the housing when like it's almost impossible to get to that point when you're at such a low point and you have nothing to work off of? You know what I mean?
I mean, it just shows like the intention clearly isn't to help these people.
Yeah. I mean, it just sucks because like the politics here just talk about it and talk about it.
It's
and
something,
talk about it.
It's a source that they could like latch
to
onto
get votes,
for propaganda. Yeah.
But like, I don't know. There's this new
like,
type of guy
something.
running. This guy who I don't know if he created the Grove, but I don't know if
He owns it.
He owns the Grove. And
Which, if you
it's
don't
like
know what it is, it's like
it's a
one of
huge
the.
thing here, and it's like a Beverly Hills thing, or like a not Beverly Hills.
It's a
but
hot spot for tourists and
mostly like wealthy people.
wealthy people. But like,
Yeah.
let's be real. Most of the time, it's like people who aren't from here are the ones going there.
Yeah.
It's like a hot spot, you
Yeah.
know, and it's just a bunch of outdoor stores, farmers market that is there every day. It's not like it's not like a weekly farmers market. It's like 7 days a week that place is open. Yeah, it's just one of those places in Beverly Hills.
But so I was saying the founder or owner of that.
I don't think he's a founder, but I think he owns it.
Yeah, his parents might have found it or something.
Maybe.
I don't know. But he's running for mayor right now because
In LA.
he's saying he's going to fix homelessness. I mean, I don't know. If he wins, we'll see. But I don't know, man.
I don't think he's going to. Everyone that endorses him is a millionaire. It's like, I don't trust.
Well, he spent like $80 million for his campaign so far.
Which is like absurd. Put your money where your mouth is. Like, go do some work beforehand.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
You can.
We'll
Don't
see.
hold it over people's head. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know much about him.
Whoever does win, I just hope they actually make some progress.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah. All right.
Compare that to Housing First. In the initial study on Housing First, back in 2003, a randomized trial of the two approaches decidedly shows the strength of the new program. Around half of the initially homeless group were accepted into permanent housing, regardless of their eligibility according to other programs, and they were then offered tailored and optional care for their individual circumstances. The other half went through conventional channels, and at the end of the trial, the results were clear. The Housing First group spent more time in stable housing, less time hospitalized, and results carried over for longer than when homeless people went through the continuum of care path. Within just 6 months, Housing First had virtually eliminated homelessness in the experimental group. It was a massive success. That first study was in New York, and inspired by its promising results, the EU ran its own pilot programs in 5 European countries with the same outcome: secure, long-term housing stability. And now that it's become the official national policy of the Finnish government, we've seen just how much good this can achieve. It is abundantly clear that this approach works. Despite all of this, some of you might still be skeptical. Forget for a second that housing is a universal right we are all entitled to, that it is baked into the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which the US has signed onto and agreed to provide in front of the entire international community. Forget that this right doesn't include temporary shelters, but only real, stable housing, and that there are metrics around accessibility, affordability, discrimination, and protection.
We gotta read this. I
didn't even know
that
this was a thing.
existed.
Yeah, I didn't know this was a thing.
So they're supposed to provide housing, affordable or free housing.
I don't know.
I gotta rewind that for a second. Do you mind? Sorry, I've never even heard about this.
It is abundantly clear that this approach works. Despite all of this, some of you might still be skeptical. Forget for a second that housing is a universal right we are all entitled to, that it is baked into the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which the US has signed onto and agreed to provide in front of the entire international community. Forget that this right doesn't include temporary shelters, but only real, stable housing, and that there are metrics around accessibility, affordability, discrimination, and protection from eviction which good Housing First programs conform to perfectly, in addition to affirming the basic idea of being decent to...
So how is this acceptable?
I don't know.
If it's,
I need to look into this more.
That's wild to me. It's almost like when people, like, okay, you hear me saying, like, what is this? I never heard about this. They keep us in the dark about these things purposely, so we can't, like, like
Question it.
hold them accountable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And them, I'm talking about our government, and no matter how big or how small, like this affects, like, what the fuck, bro?
Yeah, that's wild.
Like, this is unacceptable.
Real human people. You might still wonder about costs in the wealthiest country in the world that regularly provides housing subsidies mostly to the wealthiest people in the country through mortgage interest tax deductions costing the American people, I don't know, $70 billion a year, or close to 25 times what is set aside for homelessness programs at the federal level. Imagine all that incredibly important stuff doesn't matter. It's gone. Forget about it. Housing First is still cheaper than not housing people or walking them through an ineffective continuum of care program. Not only are people housed through Housing First covering part of the cost and are more easily employed, but housing people saves money in the long term on comparatively costly emergency hospitalization bills and absurdly expensive policing, which both go down when 1. People's needs are taken care of preventatively, and 2. They aren't exposed to an expensive state apparatus that has criminalized existing without a house. Given all this evidence, you're probably wondering, why aren't we doing this? To be fair, there are some small-scale examples of this in the US. The US Department of Housing and Urban Development does fund certain homelessness programs, some of them with the Housing First methods. However, these programs are only robust in a few cities and states. But no matter the nature of the program, whether it's Housing First, Continuum of Care, or something else, funding is far too low. The HUD's budget and municipal aid funds have steadily declined over time, and as a result, programs scrape together a budget from the general public and several different local and federal funds, rarely ever amounting to what they actually need to provide effective services. But the main problem behind all of this isn't that homelessness programs aren't getting enough funding. That is an issue just a little further down the line. The underlying problem is affordable housing. And at the core of that problem is our capitalist organization of the economy. Under a capitalist economy, housing isn't treated like the right it's considered to be by most nations, including, on paper, the United States. Instead, it's a commodity, something to be traded, speculated on, turned for a profit. That is the main goal of housing in a commodity market.
That's
Yeah,
disgusting.
it's so true. I think, it makes me sad watching this. It's just like, fuck, it sucks. But I don't know.
Well, I just saw an
I'm sure some other countries are kind of like that too. But from what I've seen, and you guys can correct me, I feel like most other countries just don't think of housing like how we do here, where it's like just thinking of the tenants as like I don't know how to say it, like chess pieces in their game
They're
of
pawns.
profit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that. I don't. And also, like, where you guys are from, what are like, are there strong like eviction rules? Like, what do they have there that like is different with the tenant landlord type thing? Because here it's definitely a huge business. It's a giant business here.
Everything's a business here. Like, it feels like nothing is just like for the greater good here.
Yeah.
You know, it's all like, what are you gonna give me in return? Like, how am I gonna benefit in return off of?
And if I'm not benefiting, I don't.
Off of you having
I don't
basic
give a
human
fuck about
rights.
you. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's like, no, some things like rights shouldn't feel like a luxury. They should just feel like.
Well, they also, what I
Yeah.
think, like they make you feel like you have to earn your rights.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's nothing new here. It's
Yeah.
it sucks. I did see a post like about Oregon saying that they're trying to build communities that. Listen, I have a hot take about this. They want to have like homeless communities. They want to be able to provide like a area for them to have like showers and what else?
Like a community.
That's the thing. I don't know if that's the right word. They're trying to. I don't know. To me, it comes off as like, well, instead of fighting the real issue, which is affordable housing, let's just almost make it more comfortable to be homeless. Which I know that sounds terrible to like say.
So pretty much give them their own little area.
Like, well, if you're gonna be homeless, like we can't, like, I don't know, like instead of helping the greater problem, they would rather like put little band-aids on it to almost like hush the noise of the actual issue. Like, yes, it is, I'm sure homeless people would rather have a place to shower or X,
Like
Y,
a little
and
more
Z.
comfortable than they are
Yes,
now, yeah.
totally. And 100% all for that. But at the same time, it kind of like slows down the greater issue.
You're saying they should focus more on like actually solving the root of the
give
problem.
These people rehabilitation to become successful. Like give them the confidence. Like I don't think that's gonna do too much. It's still better than nothing. 100% I agree with that.
The housing first approach really does make more sense.
But I just feel like it's an excuse to not do more in their community.
They probably just don't want to. First, they probably don't have the funding from the federal government.
And it sucks because if you get it privately, then it's like the government's like, well, we don't need to help. You figure it out yourself.
If you get it privately too, though, you're gonna have to repay that money probably at a high interest.
Not if it's a loan, but if it's like people donating.
You're donating,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it's like people just pitching in.
But the government should feel like this is a responsibility for them. I'm not saying
that's the problem. They don't think it's their responsibility.
There's a lot of people who always say like, well, the government's not here to help you, or they're not here.
Yes, they are. That is their one job, is to serve you.
To an extent, I understand that, like where you're pursuing your things in life. I get it. Like they don't have to be there every single step of the way, being like, oh, I got you here. But like
human rights,
the main things, there should be some intervention of them like coming in and being like, okay, this is like something that is a right for all of you guys. So if you fall behind on this thing, yes, there is a community pot to help people out when they fall on hard times or something. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And it's just it would make sense, I think, but there's too many people I think who have the mentality of
the scarcity
separating
mindset.
themselves from people. If they're like in a better situation, they say like, why the hell should I help that person? Like I made myself all the way up here. Like I don't need to help that person.
No one ever got to where they are in life without help, whether they want to admit that or not. Everyone needs help. Everyone has gotten there with help, period. Okay, maybe you didn't have to beg on your knees for it like some of these people have to do, but you got there with somebody's help. Multiple people's. Everyone's.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but it's fucking true.
I mean, yeah, I get you.
So you're no better. I mean, it just sucks because it's going to take the majority of people to give a crap. Then
I also think that we're going to have like a really, really big, like, fundamental government change.
Yeah, like a revolution, honestly. That's what it's going to take. But
I don't know. We'll see. But I have a feeling
people are too distracted.
In the next 10 to 15 years, I think we'll see like a shift. Hopefully sooner. But I just feel like people are kind of like feeling kind of used by the government in a way, or like just like underappreciated by the government, you know, like in
people
every aspect.
feel exploited. Yeah.
They
feel like, what's
like
the
we deserve
point?
more for like all the stuff we do.
Yeah. It's
Putting people in homes, making money. As a result, developers, investors, and the like don't focus their energy on housing the poor, from whom they can only extract so much, but rather on building luxury accommodations for the wealthy, leaving largely empty units across the country only rarely occupied, if at all, while people in desperate need of housing are refused access and subjected to a manufactured housing scarcity. On top of that, there is a very real incentive for capitalists to only partially resolve homelessness. The threat of losing the roof over your head keeps even the most exploited worker in a job they hate. Increasingly, that threat forces people into even more dire conditions as wages become less and less sufficient to cover housing costs, forcing people to take on several jobs and work untenable hours to avoid the possibility of eviction. It is not in the capitalist interest to remove that powerful, terrifying incentive. And here is where the Finnish success story may go beyond Housing First alone. Not only is Housing First doing a good job of taking people out of homelessness in a reliable way, but a social democratic organizing of the economy is limiting the extent to which people are likely to fall into it in the first place. It's still capitalism, so it still relies on somebody being exploited, in this case people in the global south, but at the very least, social democracy goes part of the way on neutering perverse capitalist incentives on continuing homelessness domestically. One key element of this is unionization. High unionization at 75% of the Finnish workforce, and therefore higher wages and higher job security than in freer markets, mean that as people exit homelessness, they are unlikely to be replaced or fall back into it themselves. American conservatives love to rail against Housing First, touting its failures to make significant changes in cities like Los Angeles, where homelessness has continued to rise despite Housing First programs taking root. What they conveniently forget to mention is that the continuum of care programs they prefer still deliver worse results. And the core issue of the skyrocketing housing prices in the free market is why people are even pushed out into homelessness in the first place. The thing is, it doesn't have to be this way. There are solutions to reduce the scale of this issue. Earlier this year, the Gravel Institute released a great video on one of these solutions, the decommodification of housing. I'll put a link to that video and all of the sources for this one in the description. At the end of the day, the conclusion that you should take away from the Finnish case isn't just that this one type of program works really well at taking people out of an incredibly difficult situation for the benefit of everyone. It does do that, but that's not the point. The Finnish example gives us a glimpse of how we can treat housing differently. Instead of being a game for the wealthy to gamble their own fortunes and the livelihoods of millions of Americans, Housing First shows us what housing really is: a necessity, a right. It's something that must come before almost everything else.
Something too that like I think a lot of people don't think about, and is that like there's conservatives here that love to like tell like people that are trying to get in office or in office that talk about these things. They say that it never worked, but it never got implemented because you have the voting system we have is like if you have the majority and you have like the conservatives who have the majority vote to not even implement it, to try it, it never gets implemented.
A lot of things get blocked. Even
yeah,
they'll get approved but then get blocked.
Exactly. So if you have someone who's been trying to do something like this for years and years and years, but every single time it gets blocked and blocked and blocked, it's like
it looks like they're not doing anything.
Valid. Yeah, and then they just say, well, why haven't they done this before? And it's like, because
there shouldn't be so many layers of government. It's like each department should just be in charge of one thing, like a certain goals.
Yeah.
And that's it. There's no like, I made this decision, but now I have to wait till 15 other people approve it. At least majority of them. It's like, it's so dumb. It almost like is a way to sabotage the end goal and post blame on other people instead of just everyone coming together and being fucking responsible
and saying like what's
doing their job.
What will benefit the
it's all just pointing fingers, and that's why this country is so divided, is everyone's pointing their finger at someone else. I will say another thing that I'm kind of indifferent about is like Airbnb, because at first it seemed like a great idea, and I know like it has its perks, it has its pros, but I honestly think it started from something that was like, hey, I'm gonna be out of town for 6 months.
Let me like make my
work.
Money back with it, pretty much. Yeah.
And now it's turned to something where people are just like scalping homes and condos for this purpose.
Yeah.
And it sucks for people who like have been saving or trying to have a goal to like purchase a home. And it just like limits how much they're able to, limits the likelihood that they're able to get a home or condo or whatever, X, Y, and Z. So that kind of sucks. Airbnb has kind of slowly ruined the market here. I don't know how it is other places. I know this is like a global thing, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Airbnb is global for sure.
Yeah, so I don't know how
but
it's
there might be like
different regulations.
In different countries.
Even here, like cities alone will have different regulations for Airbnb.
Yep.
So I can't imagine
like
other countries.
Inglewood is trying to ban Airbnbs because someone got shot in an Airbnb.
That's what they were telling us. I forgot about that.
But I don't know. I have to say, like, I don't think housing should be such a for-profit thing.
It shouldn't. Like, obviously, everything's a business.
I don't know. There should be slim profit margins, so that way it's not.
It should be a business after it's a right. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Like, it shouldn't be something where you can have like huge fucking 80% profit margins, more than that, on and like just exploit the people in there who can barely afford to live there. And then also just like there just needs to be more. I don't want to say regulations on housing, but there just needs to be more like to take care of people of like housing should kind of be
like protections.
Partly a basic human right. you shouldn't have to like fight your way to fucking live somewhere.
You know what's wild is hearing that when I was like a kid, I would probably not understand it the way I do now.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, you have to earn that stuff. But then it's like, no, really, you shouldn't. You really shouldn't. You should earn luxury.
Yeah.
But a roof over your head is a right.
I think we have as being the wealthiest country in the world, we have the means to do this, to house everyone in this country.
We do.
I definitely think we could.
Not everyone's gonna have their own
and if they're
two-story home
well, yeah,
to
like
themselves. But
what if homeless people, they make them like, you know, roommates, right? So just like give them some roommates.
The way
and
you
stuff.
said it, you're like, you know, roommates.
What if okay, so say, because there are a lot of people, right? And so if you needed really to just put them inside, I'm sure some of them wouldn't care. They already have people.
No shit, they wouldn't care.
That's what I'm saying. They already like sleep in their tent, probably worrying if someone's gonna come and like stab them or jack them.
I mean, don't get me wrong. This is unfortunate. I feel like a lot of people who are homeless have just adapted and are like totally just like in their own little world now.
Yeah.
And
they're in a cycle that I don't think they know how to break out of it.
That's with anything. You could be struggling. You could be
addicted to anything.
Yeah, like I feel like any class you're in, obviously if you're super rich, like I'm not talking about that, but
yeah.
you kind of like, it's very difficult to break out of that cycle and to level up. So I can't imagine being at a low point like that and being like, how do I break out of this?
Yeah.
Like that has to be way more difficult.
You can't even find the first step.
And you need help. Like I'm saying, everyone needs help.
Yeah,
some need it more than others.
What if that person, like the one thing they needed was just
somebody give a shit.
Kind of like sanity to just be like, okay, at least I have a roof over my head, you know?
It builds confidence too. Like some of these people don't have an address when they are applying to jobs. Like where are they putting they live? Where's their mail going? Like, you know, like give them some confidence.
Just a starting point, like a stepping, whatever, like a little.
Yeah, you shouldn't rid people based off the cards they were dealt in life and just be like, well, you can figure it out. The same way some people are born into wealth, some people are born into poverty, believe it or not. Yeah. So it shouldn't be this difficult. And I can't imagine being born into poverty and dealing with the economic bullshit that's going on right now. It's like, yeah, it's annoying. A lot of people here look at their perspective like, well, I'm not in that position, so they shouldn't be either.
So why can't they figure it out? That type of thing. Yeah.
And it's like not everyone
has the same. It doesn't work that way.
Not everyone has the same starting point as you.
Yeah.
And some people had it better than you, and then they're still in that position. But it still doesn't mean you should like rid them. Like everyone's a human here. Treat them like so.
Yeah, I agree.
Which we must guarantee, or fail to recognize the humanity of millions of people. If you're interested in what the future of housing might look like, I highly recommend you check out Home of the Future on CuriosityStream. It's a fascinating look at cutting-edge production methods and radically different approaches to housing than those we see today. CuriosityStream is an established streaming platform with a solid track record of caring about great educational content.
All right, check that out. What? I think this was the end of it, right? Or am I? It seems like he's like plugging something right now. Yeah, CuriosityStream.
Oh yeah, you're right. All right. Well, yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah, it's an interesting video. I kind of thought he was gonna go a little more in depth with like Finland's like practices and stuff.
I kind of want to know how they got to that point of
because they just kind of said like
this is what they implement there. Like so I want to know how they kind of like helped, like, okay, the majority of the homeless people there, why are they homeless? Like economical issues, they like drug issues, like I don't even know, maybe their whole family has always been home, like I don't know. Like I kind of want to know how they are able to like help people.
They probably just put mental health first and humans first.
Yeah, like I want to know, like, yes, they have the housing taken care of. Like, are they offering anything else with that? Like, are they offering psychological help?
Any of you Finns,
Finland.
you Finnish people in the comments. I know a lot of people who comment on these videos love to like really type a lot. So like
honestly,
if
when
any
I
of you
have
guys from Finland, just kind of like if you want to kind of give us a little bit more like detail about this, it's interesting to us, and like it's cool to see like what are possible solutions. It also is frustrating when you start to figure out solutions that could possibly work, and then you realize that the people who are in power just don't give a shit whatsoever.
Well, they said that they tried it in New York, so like, okay, then what?
But you have to understand, if conservatives or other people who don't believe in this, they can block the funding and votes.
It's so mind-boggling that something has proof, like it's literally saying this has worked better,
Yeah.
and you are choosing not to do it.
Because money always talks here at the end of the day.
That's why I get frustrated when it comes to like politicians saying X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z, because you can talk all day and night, but the second somebody blocks something from happening or pays you off to do something else, it's like, at what point is it like useless to even vote sometimes? Like,
Yeah.
I struggled with that most of my adult life. Is it even worth it to vote? Because you're ignorant and an asshole if you don't, because you don't care about this country, you don't care about people if you don't. But then if you do, things that are promised or said will go this way most likely don't. Like, look at what's going on with the student loan right now.
It got blocked.
Biden's been supposedly trying to get people under certain tax brackets relieved of a certain amount of student loans, depending on what type of loans they pulled out for college. And after people have been applying for this program for the past like 3 weeks now that's like stopped, because they're like, oh, a few states are now trying to sue the government for allowing this, because God forbid people are rid of $10,000 to $20,000 off student loans.
Yeah.
To freaking breathe.
Wait, you know what's funny though? A few of the people who appealed the student loan forgiveness, they're Republicans in certain states, and there is proof that those specific people who are appealing this got forgiven like millions of dollars in PPP loans when they were giving them out.
Yep. I mean, again, it's gonna sound dumb, but like, is PPP, was that other places doing that too, or just here? It was pretty much loans that they were giving businesses or LLCs and stuff to pay their employees, and if they use a certain amount of it,
they'll get it forgiven.
Then they didn't have to pay it back.
Yeah.
So when these companies are given like hundreds of thousands, sometimes more.
Millions, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking Ted Cruz got it too.
Fuck Ted Cruz. Honestly, fuck you, Ted Cruz.
Oh, but yeah, so that was an interesting video. I like this guy's approach to stuff, the way that he narrates and everything.
Me too.
It's cool. But yeah, so his second thought was his, I'm sure you guys have already heard of it, we're loners, just in case, you know, you're coming in late to the video. Don't forget to subscribe.
Coming in late like it's live.
I know. But
thank you guys again, and if you watch this long, you have a long attention span, longer than mine. So
all right, well, leave some suggestions of any other videos and stuff, and we'll go back through the comments and stuff.
Yes.
All right.
And yeah, cool. Bye guys. Thank
Peace.
you.